Yeah, the most beautiful music in the world, and it tells you that it's time to revel in the UEFA Champions League. And what a storyline we had at the Parc des Princes, where managers Unai Emery and Luis Enrique came face to face for the first time since 2017, when Enrique's Barcelona overturned a 4-0 first leg deficit by winning the second leg 6-1 against Emery's PSG. This time though, Enrique took charge of PSG, with Emery marching in with his Aston Villa side. Let's head to the French capital for the first leg highlights.
Daniel Marlon and Garcia not registered for the Champions League. Kvaratskhelia got over the tackle. Shot drilled in and saved by Martinez. Hakimi. Now Dembele. Quick exchange with Hakimi. Pulled back for Vitinha. Wasn't far over, but it always looked like going over. In between the two legs, they don't have a game at the weekend. Villa will play at Southampton. Here's McGinn. Won it and tries to spark something. Rashford. Tielemans, can he pull it back? He's got it across, and Rodgers has got it in! The plan is coming together.
Well, it's completely against the run of play, but this starts from John McGinn. Brilliant from him. He wins the ball back, then he's got that composure to see the pass on that left-hand side. A lovely ball through, and then Tielemans picks out Rodgers at that far post.
1 out of 1. Hakimi. PSG will continue to be patient in their bid to hit back. Lovely footwork, good try. Martinez has kept it out. Just, only just. Vitinha. Here's Doué. Into a shooting position. Oh, that's wonderful. Special goal! 19-year-old Desiree Doué is at it again.
What a finish this is. Picks it up on the left-hand side.
Keep it. Lovely flick. Back to Hakimi. Fabian Ruiz finds Kvaratskhelia. Hakimi's furthest forward. Kvaratskhelia. Oh, he's gone all the way! What a goal! What a player!
He doesn't know which way he's going to go. PSG win the ball back quickly, and this is how quick they can go from back to front. The quality that they've got, but when the ball gets out wide to this man, 1v1 with this, I see, is he going to go on the outside? You think he is, and then he chops onto that outside, and it's brilliant. That's superb. Quick feet, gets that yard.
A late spark, but it seems as though both teams are settling. Dembele has other ideas. Oh, and he's broken the lines. What a chance! What a goal! It really is advantage Paris Saint-Germain now. Look what that one means.
Well, you switch off for 1 second, Aston Villa, and that's exactly what they can do to you. This is just brilliant. When he goes through, you think he's going to hit it with his left foot. He doesn't. He cuts back inside and then just finds that far corner.
Yeah, promising night for Aston Villa, ending in defeat 3-1 to PSG over in Spain. Hansi Flick's Barcelona hosted last year's beaten finalist Borussia Dortmund, with that match ending 4-0 in favour of Barcelona. Football analyst Jay Williams, who crowned Barcelona as favourites to win the Champions League on yesterday's show, and that was following a superb performance from his Arsenal team. I guess Barcelona showing exactly why today in that performance. But Jay, let's start by talking about Aston Villa and PSG. Heading into this match, the storyline centered so much around the two managers, even though, just looking at it, a magnificent opportunity for these two teams to get into the semi-finals of the Champions League. Do you feel as if this one lived up to its billing?
Yeah, I think so, because based on how the ties were shaping up, I always felt as if this would be a very intriguing one tactically. Unai Emery is known as a coach that is very astute when it comes down to knockout football. Of course, he has won 4 Europa Leagues and has brought a couple of teams pretty deep into the Champions League as well. And, you know, I figured based on how he would have analyzed his PSG team. He would try and keep up a cat and mouse type of affair, and that's really what it was. Aston Villa sitting in their low block, a low block that they're very well drilled in, and they were just looking to pick their opportunities, when to step up and win the ball high, when to transition, and they did that very well for the first goal. It was really good work from McGinn, and it was just well tailor-made transitional counter-attacking play that led to their first goal. But PSG, they're a team that are so well-versed, and they have such a high technical floor, especially in their midfield area, that they're so well-versed in keeping possession of the ball, and they did that to a really high level. They were just always shifting things around, keeping, overloading certain areas of the pitch, especially on the right-hand side, where they would overload on that right-hand side because they're not playing with a central striker. Either one of their attacking players will go over to help that overload, usually Dembele and Doué, sometimes Kvaratskhelia on the right-hand side, alongside the midfielders, and it was just really overwhelming for any block. And I think PSG did a really good job of staying calm, using their quality to their advantage, and then when the opportunities presented themselves, they still had the presence of mind to go out and take advantage of their transitional opportunities as well. PSG are a fantastic team, and they're certainly climbing up my rankings in terms of favourites for the Champions League.
Interesting. Did Aston Villa switch off after that opening goal?
I don't think so. I think based on what we saw, because the first goal PSG would have scored, it was from a set piece, a corner kick, that they worked really well. Again, even though it's a set piece, it's the same principles. Overloading that right-hand side, taking that short corner, leaving Doué isolated with a fullback. Aston Villa love to drop into this kind of a six-man defensive line. Rodgers unable to keep up with Doué, and he's so two-footed, he's so shifty. I was saying to Eric Rademacher's earlier on the Champions League preview show that he has some of the quickest feet I've seen in quite some time. His idol is Neymar. You can see a lot of that in how he plays, the Frenchman, and it was a fantastic goal. The second goal was Aston Villa trying to forge an attack, PSG picking them off on the transition. That was just a fantastic goal. You can see quick, incisive passes, but also one thing I like is that they were not trying to be too vertical too quickly. They worked the ball horizontally first, and then once it got to Kvaratskhelia, he was isolated with his defender, Disasi, who had just come on the pitch. And Kvaratskhelia versus most fullbacks in the world, it's always going to be a mismatch, and that finish on his weaker left side was absolutely gorgeous. Emi Martinez could do nothing about it. So PSG well-deserved victors in the end, and I said they're playing some fantastic football, and I feel like I could talk about their tactical setup and the quality of their players all day.
Yeah, let us talk about their tactical setup and the quality of their players, because how do they compare at this stage with the other top-line teams remaining in the Champions League?
Well, Ricardo, that's a fantastic question. Well, first of all, PSG, Luis Enrique, if you've heard me speak about Spanish coaches generally, and it's good that he was facing a Spanish coach in Unai Emery, but Luis Enrique differs a bit from most Spanish coaches. Spanish coaches tend to be very pragmatic, and you may not see that because some of them are very exciting at times, the Pep Guardiolas, but they have this natural fear within them. So Pep Guardiola always has a fear of the opposing teams. That's why he likes to keep the ball that much. Unai Emery likes to control the middle of the pitch. That's why he tends to form his box midfields and tends to try and block the center and then try and spring transitional opportunities. Luis Enrique, he differs from that pragmatic style of play. Yes, he loves to keep possession, but his teams tend to be just a little bit more vertical than most other Spanish coaches. We saw that with his Barcelona team and how exciting they were, the MSN days, Messi, Neymar, Suarez. And now this PSG team, they've finally gotten the right balance between having supreme technical players in the midfield area and their attackers who are very vertical players. Kvaratskhelia, he's always wanting to go on his fullback. Doué, the same. Barcola, the same. Ousmane Dembele, who's in fantastic form, the same. But their midfield are all players, I like to call them touch players. João Neves, he's a combative player, yes, but of a high technical quality. Fabian Ruiz, I think he's one of the best connecting midfield players in world football. I say that because if you were to go back to Spain in the European Championships, which they won this past summer, he was one of those players where he wasn't heralded as the best, but he is integral because he does just enough defending while also being extremely technically secure. And then you move on to what I would say is a crown jewel of that midfield would be Vitinha. He's just a fantastic player. He's a player that understands space. You would think he's Spanish because we rarely see midfielders understand space and timing and having that level of pausa outside of Spanish players, and he has been fantastic. And I said all of these three players, you notice none of these players are attacking midfielders, none of them are outright defensive midfielders. They're all three number 8s, and they do so well at dovetailing, so it creates an imbalance for any team that wants to come out and defend and press them and try and keep them off the ball, because they're also well versed in rotating. So I say all of that to say that PSG, they have a very difficult tactical setup to get the better of, and in all honesty, I've only actually seen one team get the better of them tactically in that midfield area, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, it is a different conversation, and we're not going to get into any gunner activity here. Can you say, given everything that you've just said in 20 seconds, whether this is the best chance that PSG have of winning the UEFA Champions League? We know they've had superstar teams in the past, but you've spoken about the balance that they have found now. Does that give them the best opportunity, in your estimation, to go on and win the title?
Yeah, I think so, because football is all based on matchups, and while I do think that Barcelona are the strongest team at current, a matchup against PSG is not going to suit Barcelona at all, because Barcelona play with a high line. They don't want to see PSG's pace. PSG are probably the only team in world football that can match the technical security that Barcelona have in the middle of the pitch as well. So I think that would be a very good matchup. It's still a possible final matchup, mind you. So I think PSG would be the most likely team, in my estimation right now, to get the better of that Barcelona team and win the Champions League.
You don't know 20 seconds, but that's fine. I'll give you 35 for this final one. Barcelona, by the way, their first leg against Dortmund, winning by 4-0. Rafinha opening the scoring. Robert Lewandowski getting a double in the 48th and 66 minutes, and Lamine Yamal finishing things off in the 77th. A commanding victory this for Barcelona. How strong of a statement does this performance send?
It was an extremely commanding victory, as you said, and it's just overwhelming. That's what Barcelona and their attack is. Lamine Yamal, I can't say anything more about him. He's just one of the best players in the world, period. Like I can't really say too much more. Lewandowski was on top form, getting now his 105th goal in the Champions League. He's a stalwart. Rafinha continues to be one of the most decisive players in world football. Fermin Lopez is playing some really good stuff at the moment. Pedri, as I said on the preview show, also the best midfielder in the world at current. This Barcelona team is clicking on all cylinders. They do have their weak points, but in order to exploit those weak points, you have to be a very good team. So I say that they're the strongest team in world football right now.
Yeah, according to Lynch, if you're going to exploit those weaknesses, maybe you have to be PSG or that other team. Lynch, as usual, thank you so much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone. I'm sure we'll be chatting a lot more in the coming weeks with so much more UEFA Champions League football and other football going on around the Caribbean as well. Thanks as usual. Let's go to a break. Interactive will close the show coming up. Stay with us.